And we are ready to go on this Friday. Hope you're having a great one. We are down to 2 days, just 2 days to go until the start of the Notre Dame football season. Notre Dame and Miami. Sunday night, the 6th-ranked Irish, the 10th-ranked Hurricanes, a 7:30 kickoff right here on Sports Radio WSBT. Vince, let me just ask you this. When was the last time there was this much optimism going into a Notre Dame football season?
That's a really good question. How about 2006, maybe, like following that
Coming
big
up, Charlie Weiss, yeah.
because you had Quinn and Samars, all those guys back, and that whole deal. I think there was a lot of optimism going into that year. Other than that, it's a really good question because it feels
like I'm trying to even after 2012, getting to the national championship game with as much turnover as there was the next year, I don't remember there being this much the next year.
Right. Well, and Notre Dame has not done a great job of following up really good seasons with a really good season. What I mean? And so, this is it's slightly uncharted territory, that Notre Dame is kind of ranked where they are and has the expectations that they do and has the roster that they do. And we're going to see how Marcus Freeman and company operate under those kinds of conditions.
Mm-hmm.
But, it's going to be fun to watch. I feel very good about it. You're right. The optimism is high. There's no doubt about it.
It is very high. Optimism, borderline. I don't know even what's the next level. I mean, there's a lot of excitement. There's enthusiasm. There's unbridled enthusiasm, I guess,
12-0 national championship.
Yes.
Expectations,
high expectations. That's probably the next level.
Nope.
Very high. Are they realistic? Are they, realistic enough? I think they're definitely realistic enough because most everyone, after going to a national championship game last season, I think that is what is in the sights and the eyes of most of the shamrock-colored glasses Irish fans out there, So, I don't know. We will see. It all starts Sunday night at Hard Rock Stadium. 28th all-time meeting between these two teams, Notre Dame and Miami. Just the 5th time that they have met since 1990 when the annual series was discontinued. Again, it's a 7:30 kickoff. Sunday night, game day coverage on Sports Radio WSBT begins at 3 o'clock Eastern time. Tim Grau, Jim Irizarry, Eric Hansen, Tyler Horka on for 3.5 hours into the lead up of the network pregame show. And of course, Tony Simeone and Ryan Harris will have the call on the Notre Dame radio network, which airs right here on Sports Radio WSBT, as well as Sunny 101.5 FM. Tony Rice, Mike Golick Jr., team physician Brian Radigan, and Fighting Irish linebacker Niles Morgan, all the guests for this week's show.
Dr. Radigan's always a great guest.
Yeah.
Because he's a former player. He's the team doctor. He's a team dad, or former, I guess, at this point. But he was always a great one to talk to back when I did the show, with those guys. So, yeah.
Daughter's on the Notre Dame women's basketball team now after she transferred back to South Bend St. Joe alum.
So he's still a Notre Dame dad. So you need to get him on this show so we can talk some women's hoops.
We'll have to do it sometime. For sure.
I mean, the best part is he's called us from the parent tailgate before, been on the show. He's awesome. I love
beverage in hand, icy cold Budweiser. Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
Watch radio, baby.
That's right. So tune in for the all-new revamped game day show before every Notre Dame game all season long. Again, 3 o'clock Eastern time is when the events kick off right here on Sports Radio WSBT, the WSBT app, and the Sports Radio WSBT YouTube channel as well. You can find it all over the place. So Marcus Freeman talked with the media a little bit today, did his Zoom call. Do I need to clarify that this is usually a Thursday thing and now it's Friday because of the Sunday game and all that?
You shouldn't have to, but you might as well.
Yeah. I was thinking about it, for our purposes, it would actually be nice if it was on Friday. I think, all the time, because
I know, right?
I'm sure there's too many other things going on Fridays in general because they're traveling, if they've got a road game and if they're at home, there's all kinds of other things that are going on. on Friday. But we got to talk to him today for the final time before Sunday's game in his Zoom call, and I asked him what he's seen from CJ Carr this week that tells him that Carr will be ready for the moment, making his first career start, road environment, the whole thing, Sunday night in Miami Gardens.
Well, I think that, a lot of the things he's done in the past and since he's been here has told me he'll be ready for this moment. The fall camp has told me he'll be ready for this moment. This week's been really good. He's done a really good job at doing what his coaches have asked of him to do. As I've told him, there's growing pains of elevation that every person has to go through. And it's never going to be how we dream about it. It's never going to be how we foresee it. But I truly believe that we can expedite the process of getting better, quicker. And that's just what I want him to know. Like, you're not going to be perfect, right? There's growing pain. You got to go through some ups and downs to kind of figure out what being the quarterback at Notre Dame's all about, and I'm sure he thinks he has an idea, but he'll go and I'm not talking about one game. I'm just talking about a career. I'm talking about what this season will look like. And so he's just got to do what he does best. And that's, he's an ultra competitive individual. He's a natural leader, has extremely strong arm strength. He prepares his tail off. And so all those things are going to help him perform the way we need him to perform. But there's a lot of people around him on that offense between the players and coaches that are also there to support him and that he has to utilize and he will utilize. And, as I always say, he emulates the head coach more than anybody else in this program. And so just know that it takes people. It's not one person. It takes people, and I'm confident in what he'll do on Sunday.
So a long explanation for Marcus Freeman there on CJ Carr. He was ready to go. That was the last question of the Zoom. Like, nobody else asked about CJ Carr, and I felt like he's making his first start. We got to ask something, right? I found that last comment from Freeman interesting because, like, he said, like I always say, he's, what did he say? He emulates the head coach. He takes on the personality of the head coach. I don't think I've ever heard Marcus Freeman say that before. Maybe he says it in the building all the time. What did you think?
That's a very interesting. I'm not around him enough to know that he always says that.
If the soundbite wasn't a minute and a half long, I would play it again. But that's what it would take to get to that.
Yeah, that's
point.
true.
So.
That's true. Look, I mean, he basically is preparing us all for the fact that CJ Carr is going to make mistakes and that he is a very confident guy and he's got a strong arm. Like, okay, those are all things that we knew, and he knows it going into this and knows it by making him the starter. And there's going to be growing pains. I think he said growing pains like 4 times. So he's anticipating it for sure. And we all should as well. But there's also going to be a lot of wow plays. And that's why CJ Carr.
Wow plays.
That's why CJ Carr is a starter, man. Like, yes, there's going to be growing pains, but there's also going to be those wow plays that I can't wait to see.
It's funny that you read into it like he was setting us up to be ready because he talked about growing pains. Like, I looked at it as a glowing review of CJ Carr, and like he was kind of preparing us for this, like to see some greatness. Now, to your point, he did mention the growing pains. He talked about the growing pains of elevation, and I assume by that he means going from high school and into college. Now you're elevating a level, and that is a step up, as we've seen from everybody. But they've got the confidence in this guy, competitive guy, strong arm. He made sure to list off all of his strengths and everything else, and prepared the whole thing. Like, they're obviously very confident in CJ Carr. I saw in your prediction, sticking to your guns. You think Carr's coming out slinging in this thing?
I think he's gonna. I just don't see a world where he's just gonna sit there and hand off the ball all night long. I just don't see it. I think he's gonna push the ball, man. He's a competitor. He wants to throw the football. I'm sticking to it. I think
he wants to throw the football, but like Mike Denbrock said the other, like we had the comment for Mike Denbrock where, he was asked, like, what's the thing, like, what's the common tie in terms of success for a first-time starter. And, the first thing that he said was realize that you can get a first down and not necessarily, have to go for it all downfield. I'm paraphrasing basically. And I think that is the key for CJ Carr. So like if we're qualifying gunslinging as he's going to throw the football, I mean, I agree with that, but I also, don't think he's just going to come out throwing left and right and all over the place. The key is obviously going to be like make those throws that you're confident in, make your layups, keep the chains moving. You don't have to go for it all every time because it feels like that's where some of those turnovers that we heard about in training camp came into play.
I'm not saying he has to go for it all. I'm saying he is going to push the ball down the field because that's what he's going to do. Again, he's not going to dink and dunk it. This is not going to be a game that Notre Dame fans are used to watching where the quarterback just throws it, 10 yards and under all the time. Like it's just not going to happen.
I'm not saying I have to put like rooms on him. I'm not saying he can't throw downfield. I think Jesse and I have talked about this a little bit more. Maybe I feel like where Carr, the examples that we've had going back to the Blue Gold game last year and the first day of practice this year and hearing some other things, I think where Carr has gotten into the most trouble is when he's deep down the middle of the field where the safety can get involved. That's like, look at the interceptions that we've seen with our eyes. It's been the safeties who have made those interceptions. So like there's a difference between maybe forcing the ball into potential double coverage or, not knowing what the safety is going to do and it ends up being double coverage versus deep stuff on the perimeter, those kind of things. Would you agree with that?
I would say he needs to be careful going over the middle of the field, but Notre Dame loves to run stuff over the middle of the field, and I don't see that changing either. So they're going to run crossers, they're going to run, the deep digs, and they're going to do all that kind of stuff, and I think that he excels at that kind of stuff. But he also excels throwing the ball to the sideline in a safer situation.
Right.
He made a comment that, I learned pretty quickly to stop throwing toward Leonard Moore. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Leonard Moore got the best of him a few times.
In general, that feels like a pretty good career decision.
Yeah, 100%. But, like, he goes, but I also have Malachi Fields, so I still went at Leonard Moore. Like, so I still think he's going to have some pretty supreme confidence no matter who's guarding who, where. And I think he's still going to try to fit the ball into some tight spots. And, again, weather's going to play a factor here, which could tamper things just a little bit, but I still think he's going to come out trying to throw the ball all over the place.
All right. You're very high on this throw the ball all over the place. We're gunsling. So how many attempts are we going for? How many attempts is CJ Carr going to have?
25.
Okay. I don't think that's throwing it all over the place. I think that's a moderate number. So
I think throwing it all over the place and the number of throws are two different things. Like I think those 25 throws.
He's going to make throws all over the place is what you're saying.
Yes. Like he's going to be
all. And you still think they're all just going 50 yards downfield. Okay.
100%.
I'm not saying he's never going to throw the ball downfield. I just think you're a little bit more optimistic in what it's going to look like downfield than I am.
I think there's going to be more throws of 10 yards or more than there will be of 10 yards or less. How about that?
I could see that. Is
that fair?
Yeah.
Just to put a number on it.
Because that obviously factors in intermediate throws as well.
Yeah.
So.
Because I think intermediate throws is something that Notre Dame quarterbacks have really struggled with in the past.
Well, and yes, they have struggled with that in the past. And on top of that, the yards after catch has been minimized, I think, for the last few years. And I think the way CJ Carr throws, his anticipation, knowing where to throw to give the receiver the best chance to not just catch the football, but get something after, I think we're going to see a lot more yak this season than we've seen in the last several years.
I think that's fair. I think when we're talking about crossers and things like that, like hitting guys in motion, allowing them to run after the catch. Like he's a very accurate quarterback, which Notre Dame hasn't had in a while.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to allow, with the way he throws the football, allow those guys to run after the catch a lot of, too. So look, we've heard that the receivers preferred CJ Carr. Not that had anything to do with the decision, but I think that they're going to go out there and make some, not that they wouldn't have made plays for Kenny and all that. Like, don't read into that, but like they're going to go out and make plays for CJ Carr. I think they're excited about what the quarterback brings to the table, regardless of the weather.
Bobby is saying 20 pass attempts. John is saying, or Bobby said 21. John is saying 20. And I'm going somewhere between 20 and 25. I think that is kind of the happy spot for this game because you run the football the way you should with Love and Price.
Yeah.
Like
they're still going to lean on the run game and the offensive line because they should, right? Yeah. Regardless of who the quarterback is, but I think the quarterback is going to loosen it up for the running backs as well, which previous quarterbacks could not do.
Right. So Marcus Freeman also asked about his team, sort of the balance of how you get up for a game like this with handling emotions and that kind of thing as well.
I think you got to be able to, utilize those nerves, which is a natural human kind of an instinct to have when you're anticipating a game. My thing for them, Chuck, is to remind them there's work that has to be put in. You hear me say all the time, delayed gratification. It's patience plus work. Like, we have to work these next 48 hours. And you can't sit here and daydream about, Sunday night and forget to understand the pain that you have to put in practice, the pain that's associated in achieving those things that you want. So, listen, our guys are going to be excited. I think every person's going to have some nerves. I'll have nerves, right? That's just a natural human reaction, but we got to make sure we really channel those emotions the right way. And my focus is right now, the next 48 hours, continue to channel that focus into work.
So, Vince, is there anything that would make you doubt that they would have a problem along those lines, emotions and the whole thing?
No, because it's a pretty adamant no. One thing that Marcus Freeman has done an excellent job of since he became the head coach is having this team prepared for big games on the road. Now, they haven't always come out on top, a la, Ohio State in his first game of his head coaching career. I don't really count. First game of the regular season of his head coach.
Roster, that quarterback, they weren't ready for that at that point.
100%.
They were close. They just weren't ready for that.
But I think they may have even overachieved in that game because they were mentally ready.
Kept it close the whole way. Yeah.
They should not have been that close in that game.
Yeah, and by ready, I just meant again, like roster structure and the whole thing.
Oh, for sure.
Wasn't quite there yet.
Oh, completely agree with you. And because they were emotionally ready and prepared, I think it got them closer and made that game a lot closer than it probably should have been. So I have full faith in Marcus Freeman to have this team prepared. That is, if I was listing out my list of worries for this game, that is probably not even on the list. Or if it has to be, it's very low.
I mean, look at last year, Texas A&M. He knew exactly the right buttons to push. Young offensive line. He was out there hyping the line, going out there on the field. He knew what he had to do. And just in general, this has been, with very few exceptions, a very good road team that Marcus Freeman has had. And he has opened up the season away from home. This is his fourth year. This will be 4 times, one neutral site game in Ireland, of course, but this will be his 3rd true road game to open a season. They've always been ready for it. So, yeah.
I mean, next time we have a game to talk about, if Notre Dame can come out on top in this one and they're 1-0 and going into, Texas A&M, home game, first one of the season, it might be a little bit of a different conversation because they haven't really been ready for the first home game of the season, so we can have that conversation later, obviously, but got to get through this one first.
Yep. We're going to take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear more Marcus Freeman comments, including weather preparation. It is supposed to rain in South Florida this weekend. And did you know there's another game the day before Notre Dame's game against the Miami Hurricanes in the same stadium? We'll hear what Marcus Freeman has to say about that in terms of field conditions and everything that comes with it. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com with Vince D'Addario. I'm Sean Stiers. More coming up next. We continue Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stiers with Vince D'Addario, Notre Dame, and Miami. 6-10, 6th-ranked Irish, 10th-ranked Hurricanes. Coming up Sunday night, 7:30, here on Sports Radio WSBT and the Notre Dame Radio Network. The Odyssey app, AUDACY.com, if you want to listen online and you're not in our market. I can't even read what that handle is in the YouTube chat, but he says, do you think Miami will pump in fake noise for the game like 2017? I didn't realize they did that.
Never heard that.
I never heard that before. Some of these night games, like, remember there was one a few years back where it felt like Notre Dame was probably doing the same thing. So I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody for that. Joe Allen thinks that CJ Carr is going to go 19 of 24 for 210 yards. That's a lot of yards for 19 completions.
And how many touchdowns is that going to be? That's what I care. I don't care about yards. I want balls in the end zone. That's what I care about. But it'd be great if he went over 200. I mean, I think that'd be a really successful day. Considering everybody's worried about the weather and everything. I just checked the weather. It doesn't. I don't know, man. It doesn't look like it's going to be that bad. It's a
bad bandana man is what people are saying in the chat for that. Joe says 3 touchdowns. I guess the weather forecast is getting better. So that's good news. Like, everyone's been sweating it literally all week. And now,
That's why you don't worry about weather. Just let it be.
By the way, weather here in town, very fall-like this week. It was downright chilly out there this morning. It was in the 40s.
Chilly equals beautiful. This has been the perfect weather. And I know you get out and you do your stuff in the morning. And so you're a little I feel it when I'm coming to work and I'm doing duty. But man, the evenings have been just absolutely gorgeous. Getting out for a walk or whatever. Friday Night Lights tonight. The weather is perfect. I love fall weather. And this is it right now.
Yep.
Usually it's hotter than you know what around here. And that is not the case. It is beautiful.
Penn hosting Mishawaka tonight, the backyard brawl out in Vince's backyard right now. He'll be on game patrol. So if you're out there, look for the Dean of Discipline, and he'll tell you to keep your buttocks off the field or whatever he tells you to do.
That's right.
Out there. All right. So an interesting twist this weekend. I didn't know this today. Kyle Kelly asked this question during Marcus Freeman's Zoom. There is another game in Hard Rock Stadium this weekend. Saturday afternoon, Florida A&M plays Howard in the Orange Blossom Classic. And Kyle asked Marcus Freeman about that, like any concerns along those lines with field conditions and that kind of thing.
Been in communication. Some of our people here in the facilities, people down at Hard Rock, and again, the confidence they have in their playing surface in terms of being able to handle a certain amount of rain and back-to-back games. Like, this isn't something that's new for them. So they're prepared. Our guys will have multiple cleats if we need to. We'll have cleats that have longer studs and cleats that have shorter ones in case they want to change. Some of our guys change cleats for the Orange Bowl. So it's really just, I'm not worried about the game before. I'm not worried about, the field surface. It's just the comfort our guys will have in playing on grass. We practice on it, but practice and playing on it are two different things.
Yeah, so Tom was, posting something in the chat earlier about Bermuda grass down there at Hard Rock Stadium, and I did read that they have Bermuda grass and the whole thing. And it is a multi-use stadium. Obviously, the Miami Dolphins share that stadium with the Miami Hurricanes. So I'm sure there are plenty of weekends where they've got back-to-back, where Miami is playing on the Hurricanes are playing Saturday and the Dolphins are playing on Sunday. I wonder, especially like Art said that his daughters are down there right now and the weather is great. I mean, you can still get rain potentially tomorrow. There is at least some precipitation. I wonder, would they change out all of the sod? Would they just change out trouble spots on the sod? How they would handle that if the field does, if it gets wet tomorrow and the field does get chewed up a little bit out there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how they deal with that. It sounds like, just based on that very simple answer that Marcus Freeman gave, is they literally have every box checked. They were bringing multiple cleats. They've been practicing on grass like that. This is not a built-in excuse for Marcus Freeman and company. So I'm not overly worried about it, because Miami's got to play on the same turf. So
I mean, that's exactly right. Both teams have to play on the same turf no matter what. You hope that it is in pristine condition, since it is the season opener. And no offense, to Florida A&M and Howard in the Orange Blossom Classic, does feel a little odd that they would be playing that game the day before such a high profile game between two top 10 teams down there. But, to USMA 87's point, he says he has to believe they have special drainage underneath, like on some golf courses. They do. Like I've done a little bit before today reading on that. They've got like state-of-the-art drainage underneath, because it is Miami and because it does rain so much
all the time.
So.
I think they're going to be just fine. But I'll tell you what, there is nothing like fresh cut, short grass in a stadium. Like it. I mean, I'm sure for the most part it's perfect.
The smell.
I mean, come on, like that.
That's what I miss about Notre Dame Stadium, is the smell of the grass when we used to go down on the field at the end
of the game, when it's
all chewed up. Yeah, and you just have that pungent smell of fresh cut grass in the air.
It was pungent, all right. Yeah, it was pungent and it was slippery.
Grass and sweat and blood and whatever.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was awful.
Yeah,
it was
baby.
So bad. Anybody who because I agree with you. I love the smell of fresh cut grass and all of that stuff. But I defy anybody who is like, oh, they need to have real grass at Notre Dame Stadium, to go down there in October and November and tell me that that's a safe place to play.
Yeah.
Because it definitely was not that.
I've seen Vince come out of his house in the morning, with one of those big, drill instructor hats on his head, saying, I love the smell of napalm in the morning, chewing his cigar and everything else. He is out there. He is into it.
That's what you do. I mean, nothing like it.
Little defensive line talk. I think it was somewhat surprising, at least to some people. Cole Mullins and USC transfer Elijah Hughes made the 3 deep for Notre Dame's defense at defensive tackles this week, and Marcus Freeman discussed them a little bit.
Those two have had a great training camp. You talk about Cole, a guy that didn't get to practice a whole bunch last year because of some lingering issues from his knee in high school. And, I think he messed it up a little bit last year, but he's developed tremendously. He has really done a great job in practice of earning trust. And the same thing with Elijah, a guy that transferred here in the spring and, is continuing to learn the system. And, those guys are continuously working or practicing hard. We'll see what their role is in the game, but I'm very confident if they're in the game that they'll get their job done.
All right. Confident in Cole Mullins, a redshirt freshman, and Elijah Hughes, the transfer from USC. Some people were surprised. Armel Mukum, no Sean Sevillano Jr. on that 3 deep depth chart. I mean, what do you think at this point, Vince?
I have never heard a coach be so confident in a position group that the media and fans are not confident about.
It's amazing. He was raving about these guys earlier this week.
Because if it was an issue, I can't imagine he's putting out a bunch of false narratives about how good the defensive line is. So it's like we kind of have to take his word for it at this point, because we certainly didn't get to see anything, during fall camp to tell us, one way or the other. And so, I mean, he was adamant that this is the most improved group. This is the best group he's blah, 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 all the flowery language that he was using. So I'm kind of fired up to see this group.
He's not a false bravado, false praise type guy.
No.
Like I said, if he doesn't have the kind of confidence that we've heard him have in this position group this week, he's not going on a 90-second tangent on Monday talking about the guys at this position and not talking about these guys that, the way that we just heard him talk about Mullins and Hughes the way he is. He would throw together about 15 to 20 seconds of word salad and move on. But he was very expansive and very detailed in the praise for these guys. And what we've seen backs that up as well. Limited, obviously, but what we've seen backs up what he's talking about.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited because they rarely go 3 deep in a lot of spots, and they went 3 deep here, and so they're very confident in the guys that they've got. I mean, they've got 12 guys on the depth chart on the defensive line. That is crazy depth.
Yeah,
that they're counting on to do good things when they're in. So obviously, it's not going to be even snaps all around. This isn't 8-year-old Pop Warner, but at the same time, it's like they're counting on these 12 guys to all play a role.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you need them to, like Mullins and Hughes could easily give you a series or two, like in the second half to keep those horses fresh down the stretch when the fourth quarter. Because this is one of my greatest confidences is that Notre Dame's lines physically are going to be able to take over, win the game, similar to Texas A&M last year. If it's a close game into the second half, that Notre Dame's lines will take over. And that will be a massive difference in this game.
I completely agree. It might be a little touch and go there at the beginning, but they're going to wear them out. I mean, Notre Dame's lines are going to wear them out.
All right. We got a kicker question today, so I want to make sure that I get this in before Vince has to take off to go to do disciplinary duties out there at Penn. Noah Burnett going to handle field goal duties. He's number 1 on the depth chart there. Marcello Diomede handles the kickoffs. Could freshman Eric Schmidt maybe kick field goals at the longer distances?
No, right now, Noah Burnett will be our field goal kicker at any distance, and Marcello will be our kickoff specialist. Eric is a guy that has a huge leg. Right now the plan isn't to play him as of today, but we have a lot of confidence in that entire room. All 3 of those guys. And if it comes to a point where we feel like somebody might give us a better opportunity to make a field goal from a certain distance, then we'll do that. We compete. We obviously name roles for each week, but we also still have to compete. And, we will do that. But we feel really confident what Noah provides in terms of being able to make field goals from the distance that we will decide once we get down there. And then, we feel great about Marcello and his leg for kicking off.
All right. So what do you think there, Vince, of what you heard from Mr. Freeman on the kickers?
That tells me that they're not kicking any deep field goals in this game. And if they do, it's not going to be Noah Burnett.
If you're back around the 35 and it's like 3rd and 5 or 4th and 5 or shorter, you might just be going for it instead.
It's a 52-yarder.
Yeah.
Noah Burnett should be able to make a 52-yarder, but my guess –
field conditions.
My guess is going to be like, hey, young pup, just go in there and pipe it and see what happens. You know what I mean? And we're talking probably
end of half. I think we see Schmidt. Yeah.
End of half, end of game, you know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And so I don't think they're married to Noah Burnett taking every kick. I think 40 and in, Noah Burnett's your guy. But I think anything beyond that, they're going to be thinking about somebody else. And it doesn't surprise me that Noah Burnett's not doing kickoffs, because I would not waste his leg doing that. And it's not the strongest. Let a guy just go out there and just pipe the end zone.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Vince has got to get running here pretty quickly. Give me 2 things you are confident will happen against Miami.
Notre Dame's offensive line will be a positive when we're talking in the post-game show, for sure. Whether it's pass blocking, run blocking, what offensive line is going to be the deal. And the Notre Dame secondary is going to lock down Miami's receivers. Whatever that looks like, they are going to be a very positive thing on defense that we are going to be talking about. So O-line, secondary.
All right. Looking forward to it. Notre Dame and Miami, Saturday night, 7:30, or Sunday night. See, I'm so used to saying Saturday.
Right?
Sunday night, 7:30. I'll be down there, and hopefully I have an enjoyable evening watching college football.
Don't try to beat anybody up on the way out like I tried to against Ohio State. All right?
I can only imagine. Imagine. All right, have fun tonight. Penn, Mishawaka, backyard brawl.
Backyard brawl. Let's go. Woo,
all right.
Cleveland.
See you later.
See ya.
That's Vince D'Addario. He's checking out. I'm going to be joined very soon by Jesse Stiers. He will join me. I think his morning phase is over after the events of yesterday. Bobby Hensley is going to join us in the second hour for Rapid Fire as well. We still have a lot of Notre Dame Miami conversation to come on this show as we get a little bit closer. We're 2 days away, and we'll continue next right after this. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat continues on Sports Radio WSBT and IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stiers, and peeking in now with his future so bright he's got to wear shades on is the one and only Jesse Stiers. How art thou today?
I'm in a much better mood than yesterday. I can tell you that. right off the bat.
Have you been, I don't know, something?
No, I've
Okay.
it's the start to a Labor Day weekend. I've come to grips with yesterday's transaction. I watched the Notre Dame football hype video that came out this morning. I told you guys about this earlier in the week. This is officially when the hypeness sets in for me. We're almost to the weekend. We got great football tomorrow. We have even better football Sunday evening. I'm fired up now.
All right. I'm glad. I'm glad you've made a turnaround since yesterday. It was hard today watching all the hot take people on TV with all of their.
You just got to ignore it because it's just so easy to pick on the Dallas Cowboys. So just ignore it. Everyone's gonna have a hot take.
I feel like you're still a Dallas Cowboys fan though today after your proclamation yesterday.
I'm bought back in.
Okay.
I listened to my boy Jerry yesterday, and I'm back.
You bought it. Okay. I want to play something for you here. This is from CBS sports analyst Danny Cannell. He was on the Ryan Russillo show recently, and this is what he had to say about the Miami Hurricanes. It appears that it is not playing. I don't know what.
I was like, is this just me or what's going on here?
Oh no, it was such good audio as well. Well, I think we'll have to call an audible on that. He basically said, like they could either be pretty good or they could easily even miss a bowl game, when all things shake out.
There's a lot of pieces that got to come together for Miami this season. I mean, we've talked about it. They have a brand new defensive coordinator, a brand new defense completely from the portal, essentially. You have a brand new quarterback. A lot of your wide receivers are gone. You've put together a rebuilt offensive line that you think is going to, withstand the test. There is so much newness to Miami, and for all of this to come together in one season, it's hard. I mean, it's hard no matter where you're at. I think the good programs and the good teams, you at least have to have a backbone of players that have been there. Yes, everyone's going to have some portal players, but you got to have a backbone or a foundation of guys who are true, 3-4 year starters. And I think that's what makes Notre Dame so good is they have that perfect recipe right now of guys who have been here 2-3 seasons. They have a couple guys that they add through the portal. They get a couple of these young guys to come in an immediately play. Miami doesn't have that. There's just nothing. There's no cohesiveness. There's no glue. Yep. And so I understand it's like the complete boom or bust. This season could go really, really great, or it could just not come together at all, and they're limping along and going 7-5.
And that's why it's so odd to me that so many people nationally are buying in. I realize it's a home game for Miami and environment and all those different things, but it's odd to me that so many people are buying into Miami in this game in particular because they've done what I said was going to happen in the offseason. They're buying in solely on the quarterback experience.
Yeah.
Like you've got Carson Beck, third-year starter versus CJ Carr, no career starts. Even though there's more cohesiveness on Notre Dame's side, Marcus Freeman is the better coach of the two. He's the better game day coach. Like that's not even debatable at this point. He has proven that. Mario Cristobal still makes very questionable game day calls. Marcus Freeman, I think whatever issues you may have had last year, he addressed that, especially as the season went on. And again, roster cohesiveness, you've had to bring in 20 transfer portal players, on one side, and you had a team that just went to the national championship game that, if you just look at starters and all you say is starters that they have back, it's like what, 11 or 12 overall, but you've got like virtually the entire roster is filled with experience, even if they weren't all true starters, like look at the linebacking core. As an example, like all four of those guys played last year. Not everyone was a starter last year, but they've all got a ton of experience from last season. Look at the secondary, a ton of experience across the board. Look at the defensive line. Again, like even though they weren't all starters and most of them weren't, ton of experience. Same on the offensive side of the ball. So it's very odd to me that people are turning their back on a coach that he has, who has proven what he can do in both road environments and in a macro sense from last year, and roster cohesion and depth and the whole thing. And they're essentially pushing all their chips to, well, this quarterback's got more experience and they're playing at home. So that's what I'm going with.
I mean, I can almost guarantee you that if Carson Beck wasn't on this team, I don't think Miami would be ranked in the top 25 right now.
Man, you're going that far, huh?
I don't see it, man. Like, you lost a really good quarterback and a lot of, talent at the wide receiver position. And again, your defense is the reason why you couldn't be anything impactful last season. And all of that's still, up in the air. And the only thing you've got is Carson Beck right now. So we'll see how it goes.
I agree. I asked Vince this question before he left. I gave him 2 things that he would be confident in because he was on a timeline. What 3 things are you confident will happen for Notre Dame against Miami?
Yeah. I guess let's start with the biggest and the obvious, a win. I think that definitely happens against right? Like, that's fair.
That counts.
I think they get a win. I think that they dominate in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. I think that leads to the run game opening up. And I think that the last thing, or the thing that I'm most confident in after that,
I see is, again, this is very Vince-like.
Gears turning.
Actually. Not doing your homework.
I did my homework. I just don't know which way I want to go with this one.
Okay.
I'm confident in a receiving touchdown tomorrow night as well, of over 20 yards.
So you're basically giving me prop bets for what you're confident in.
Well, I guess what are you confident in?
I am confident, and I feel like Vince stole this from me actually earlier. I am confident Notre Dame's offensive line will own the line of scrimmage when the game matters the most. That is my number one certainty. And it, like, maybe there's a little bit, I won't say doubt, but I do need to see something from the defensive line before I'm completely confident in them. I am confident in them, and I do think that their depth is going to go a long way. I think I said this earlier. Both lines of scrimmage, Notre Dame will be able to dominate when the game is on the line. I'm confident CJ Carr will be good enough. Vince has, CJ coming out. He's just going to gunsling it and throw it all over the yard. I still think
that's not happening.
I just, especially early on, like I've seen, Mike Denbrock wants to open up the playbook and all this stuff. Like, you don't do that on the first series of the game or the first 2 series of the game. That is like,
listen, Marcus,
as you build a little confidence, both in coach and quarterback in each other, I think that stuff can happen, but I just don't see it early on. And I'm also confident that the Irish will have more explosive plays than the Hurricanes. And those kind of things matter in games like this.
I like that one a lot.
Explosive plays. When you've got 2 good teams going head-to-head, Notre Dame will have more explosive plays than Miami. That is my third confidence in this game.
Okay. I like that. I think that Notre Dame's defense won't lose a step from last season.
Okay.
That would be my understanding, kind of, how you framed and put together those. I feel like that's my last one. I think that there's a lot of concerns. Chris Ash, losing Xavier Watts, losing Howard Cross, Riley Mills, some important players.
Yep.
I think that they don't lose step. I think that they continue to be one of the top defenses in the country.
Okay. John is confident Notre Dame will be able to establish the run game. I would buy that. Joe is confident Notre Dame will get at least 1 pick by a safety. Again, that's very specific. I think that there will be
one
interception. Whether or not it's by a safety does not matter. As long as it's an interception, that's what you're going for. ND Saylor says Freeman will have the defense ready to play violent, and they will put a scare into Beck and their O-line. I think that is a good one. Stymie says Reardon's a Dune. Price could start for 85% of teams in America. Tay legit. Tay hype is legit. All right, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, the one and only Bobby Hensley joins us for Rapid Fire with a lot more Notre Dame Miami perspective coming up in hour number 2. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. It is hour number 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com, and it's Sean Stiers, it's Jesse Stiers, it's Bobby Hensley as well.
I was wondering if you're going to add me there.
Well, I thought that I did once. Maybe you added yourself, and I clicked the thing again, and I took you out the second time, subliminally.
Old men in technology. It's wonderful.
Get off my lawn. Bobby's got his Play Like a Champion Today sweatshirt on and his Miami Dolphins hat. Do we need to explain to people you were only a Dolphins fan and not a Miami Hurricanes fan? Like, is that why you wore that to try to troll people today?
No, I was just thinking it's football, so I had a football hat on. And
all right.
Then I sat down and saw myself on the thing. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm definitely not a Miami Hurricanes fan and definitely not a Carson Beck fan. So I don't want anybody to get confused.
Okay.
But if I take it off, I'm so bald the light just blinds you.
We've all got, well, at least you and I have that problem these days. That's right.
Must be nice, Jesse.
Blinding light. Yes, as he wears his hat over his coiffed hair. It's rapid fire time. We've got a lot of stuff to discuss. We do have breaks that we have to get in this hour, so we'll have to be conscious of that this time because I think we jumped right past one the last time Bobby was here earlier this week. Fill in the blank. We'll go around Jesse, Bobby, me. Fill in the blank. Notre Dame needs to score blank points to beat Miami Sunday. Jesse has a bad habit of muting himself.
I'm going to go with 21 points.
Young people technology.
I'm so afraid of being heard on the hot mic that I always forget that I'm muted. But I'm going to go with 21 points. I've contemplated 21 or 24. I'm going to go with 21.
See, I think Notre Dame to win the game is they're only going to have 18. I think Miami won't get above 17. So I think 18 would be a good number for them to win. Obviously, you want more, but I don't see a world where Miami scoring more than 17.
That's where I am as well. I don't think Miami gets much, I don't think that they get more than 17. I'll allow 3 points, just to be careful, to say they get to 20, on an outside chance, which means 21. So I would be at 21 just to allow a 3-point variance. But again, I'm much more like, I don't think that they score more than 17 points. Stymie says 18, which means that he's in the 17 ballpark. Robin says 20. John says 24. So, I think we're all relatively in the same place with this. Do you buy or sell Marcus Freeman having a short leash with CJ Carr in this game?
I think this is a narrative that a lot of people want to push, but at the end of the day, I don't think he's going to have a short leash with CJ Carr. I think that obviously there's going to be some mistakes. It's a first-time quarterback in a big environment, in a big game. But unless it's an absolute train wreck, then I think there's just going to be some growing pains, and you got to deal with it.
I agree with you 100%. I don't think there's a short leash because why would you name him a starting quarterback if there's a short leash? You could still go into the game without naming or saying we're going to give both of them some time if you felt that way, if you weren't that confident. I think you have to give them that long leash, and I think you're going to have growing pains will happen for sure. The only way I could see him getting pulled is if maybe he's a little dinged up or something, but it's not like the backup is someone that's already established either. That it's not like you're going back to Ian Book coming back in off the bench or something. So I don't see why you would pull him.
No, exactly. And I completely sell the idea of the short leash. Just because the quarterback competition was close doesn't mean you're going to have a quick hook for the quarterback, especially in his first start. Like, you would just completely be setting the wrong tone, not just for the game, but the entire season. And I think that you just create more chaos if that happens. And that's not something that Marcus Freeman has ever done. And it's obviously not a road that he or Mike Denbrock wants to go down. So I agree with what Jesse's saying, unless it was, it just is like some colossal train wreck, like major. And I don't even want to set parameters on what that is. I think it when you see it. So I don't see it happening. I don't see them, giving CJ Carr a quick hook because he makes a couple mistakes early in the game. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't think that's in Freeman's pedigree, really. He's such a player's coach anyway.
Right.
He's going to put that trust in his players, and he's going to put them out there to play and win the game. So, and I know you're talking about a train wreck, but even then, if it's too far off the tracks, you just let him take his lumps to the end of it anyway, if they're losing by 35 or something, because that's our guy. We're going to see what he's got to finish the game, I guess. See if we can get a positive at the end to try and get the nose up a little.
All right, outside of CJ Carr, who's the most intriguing and or important Notre Dame player entering this game?
So I'm going to do one offense, one defense. Malachi Fields on offense and Boubacar Traore on defense.
Okay.
I think Malachi Fields is a guy. I hope that our good friend Salty Virginia Peanuts isn't listening. I just think that connection is going to have more big play ability and really just kind of big moment ability compared to the Jaden Greathouse. I still think Jaden Greathouse will do a lot of work, but I just find Malachi Fields to kind of be the X factor to this passing attack that can really set them over the edge. And he seems like the guy, like he favors well to how CJ Carr throws the ball, the kind of throws that he can make. So if they can establish that connection, I think that can take them to kind of a new level on offense. So that's where I'm at. And then Boubacar Traore, I want to see a premier edge rusher. I want to see a guy who can maybe get double-digit sacks. And I think he has some of the most potential to do that.
I mean, I think for me, it comes down to Jeremiah Love again. I know it's an easy one to say, but they're going to be so keyed on trying to stop him, especially with the freshman quarterback or rookie quarterback starting, to try and get him to throw the ball more. I'm really curious how he's going to, perform, knowing that he's the main guy. There's no one that's on the team that has what he can give. And then also, I think Noah Burnett, the kicker, I want to see what he's got, because I think some of those close games, you need to have a good kicker at the end of the game, and those are always tricky.
Did you hear us talking about the kickers when you were coming in? I think that it could be tricky. I think that, like, if you look at, because the question was intriguing and or important, if this obviously is a close game, it could come down to Noah Burnett, a kicker, unproven at Notre Dame anyway. He's proven himself at North Carolina. Can he prove himself at Notre Dame? Can he make those kicks automatic, like Marty Biaggi talked about recently? I'm going to go Malachi Fields. I agree with you, especially like early on for CJ Carr. He needs a guy like Malachi Fields. He loves those back shoulder throws. He loves to be able to throw those one-on-one balls. And like Vince was talking about in the first hour of the show, like one of the lessons that CJ Carr said he learned was don't throw at Leonard Moore. Well, Leonard Moore was still, like he was defending Malachi Fields most of the time in training camp, but Carr knew, like, this is the dude that I need to be able to go to if I'm going to be successful. So I think that we're going to see a lot of Malachi Fields, a lot of connections between Carr and Fields. That doesn't mean those other guys won't get in on the action, but I think we're going to see a lot of that. Defensively, my key matchup on when Miami is on offense and Notre Dame is on defense is Malachi Toney, the freshman slot receiver for Miami, against Devontae Smith for Notre Dame. The slot receiver in this offense, the Miami's offense, like, goes off. They love to feed the slot. Well, Devontae Smith, what we saw of him in training camp, the Alabama transfer, who's going to be the primary nickel, like, they're both 5'11", but to me, Devontae Smith plays much more like he's 6'2", just with the length that he has, the physicality that he has. So I think they're going to try to make something happen there. And I wouldn't be surprised, like, we talk about where's the interception going to come from. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it come from that spot, Devontae Smith for Notre Dame defensively. So those are my intriguing guys to watch for the Irish. So this is the 5th consecutive year Notre Dame has opened the season away from home, which means Marcus Freeman will open his first 4 seasons as head coach without opening the season at Notre Dame Stadium. He talked a little bit about it this week.
I embrace it. If you're asking would I rather start at home, I think you always would rather play at home no matter when you get the opportunity. But, there's something about going on the road, man. It's you against the world. It's, your group. Right? There's no distractions. It's just you guys. And you're taking your show on the road and versus a great opponent at night. What a way to start college football season. It's something we enjoy, we embrace. That's what you go to Notre Dame for. That's why you come to coach at Notre Dame, to play in games like this throughout the year, but especially week one. Night game, prime time, everybody's watching you versus a heck of an opponent. That's what any competitor wants.
Let's make lemon. Let's make lemonade. That's like, as always, Marcus Freeman is making lemonade out of the lemons. He's always finding a way to spin it in the positive direction. But can we just get a home opener for Notre Dame already? Should you be going? Because next year they're going to open at Lambeau Field against Wisconsin, so it's going to be 6 straight years next year they open away from home. What do you guys think?
I think this is what happens when you're a premier team in college football, and I think Notre Dame understands kind of their schedule format and knowing, to catch some of these more in-conference teams, you have to play them early on in the season and get their, kind of out of conference. And so I think that kind of requires Notre Dame oftentimes to go on the road, but I love it, whether they're at home, whether they're on the road. I just love that Notre Dame starts their season with big football games. So I think Marcus Freeman is the same way. I think he is a big game magnet, and I think that it's really cool to hear, how he was talking about it's us versus everyone else type situation. When you're at home, you're insulated with your fans. There's more distractions. Your mom and dad are in the crowd, all of this stuff. When you're on the road, everyone hates you. It's just your group versus everyone else. And so I like that kind of mental mindset of locking in that the way that they do. So I think the last big home opener was the Notre Dame and Michigan game, Labor Day weekend.
I think so.
I was at that game. It was
that 18?
I think that was 18. Yeah.
I think it was.
So, but Jesse, you're kind of saying that like any opener for Notre Dame is going to be a big game anyway, right? That's kind of what you're doing. Yeah, I agree with that. I was kind of on the fence on this topic, and then when you hear the way that Freeman spoke, it's like that's why he's a good coach. Because now I'm like, you know what? It's fine. They're on the road. I don't even care. I'm buying
He
completely worked you over.
Yeah, he did. Because then later down in the schedule at some point, you might have an extra home game, and then you don't have to worry about going on the road at some point. If you need to regroup, you can be at home, potentially around a bye week or something. So I kind of enjoy the fact they go on the road, especially when they can win those big games, because now you're setting yourself pretty and you already have that resume point. Because I know people talk about scheduling and if it's weak or strong, but going on the road week one, you've had all summer to prepare, all fall camp to prepare. I think it's good to go on the road actually and get that first win. And then when you come home, you already have momentum built. And then, like I said, then you have an extra home date later. And like Jesse said, I think that every game's Notre Dame is going to be a big game, especially the opener. So I kind of like what he's doing there.
I mean, I do think there is something to the us against the world mentality for sure. They showed that they could handle the situation and the environment with an even younger, well, not younger, but just like a team that wasn't as proven at this point a year ago when they went to Texas A&M. You obviously had a veteran quarterback and a lot of other veteran guys, but that team had never done anything. You had a few lingering guys who played small roles in the 2020 college football playoff team, but it's 4 years later at that point. So there is something to that. And to Stymie's point as well from the YouTube chat, getting all eyes across the country as you're the only show in town is fantastic. It is. But you could also get that with a home game. Like, you don't have to go on the road to get, all the eyeballs on you. They could easily be playing at home Labor Day weekend against Miami or Wisconsin or whoever it happens to be and still get a lot of eyeballs on it.
But I kind of like the idea, too, of going on the road to start with a game like Miami, because I used to hate back in the old days when you play the cupcakes early and you hold back your offense. You don't want to show too much. You don't want to put too much tape out there. So let's just go on the road because we've been preparing. And that's the other thing. Okay, if Miami was week 2 and it was a road game and you only had 6 days to get ready off of your other game, this way, like I say, you have all the whole camp to get ready for this road game. So, yeah, it's still on the road. It's still travel, but it's not like you're in a home rhythm yet. So it just feels like a normal game day that you haven't really gone into the pattern yet. So I just really like the road stuff and putting themselves against the wall and knowing they have to come out fired instead of maybe getting relaxed at home.
Yep, very true. Very true. Fill in the blank. It will be an underachievement if Notre Dame doesn't blank this season.
If Notre Dame doesn't make the college football playoff. It'll be a underachievement this season.
I was gonna say if they don't win a game in the playoff, it'd be not a good season. I don't know they have to make it back to the championship game, which is what we want. I'm not saying it's a rebuilding year, but you have to at least get at least one round into the playoff for it to be a successful season.
Ooh, so now Bobby's already on that. It's like it's not enough just to get there. Now you've got to win games and advance in the playoff, or else it's all a loss. I definitely think that I would say hosting another college football playoff game, which, if that's the case, you're hosting, you're the better seeded, higher seeded team. So then you do have to win that game. So I would agree with what Bobby's saying. I think that getting to the college football playoff is a must. And if you end up hosting a first round playoff game, winning that game is a must as well. Otherwise, it's a big disappointment because there is the option this year that they didn't have last year that they could get a first round bye as well.
And that's kind of what I'm getting at. I wouldn't be surprised to see them get that bye if the season breaks down correctly. So they're already into that second round. I just don't see a scenario where they barely make the playoff, have to play in that first round, lose, and it's like, wow, that was a great year. I'm glad we had that season. I think that we need to go a little bit further to have a successful season.
We're going to take a timeout. When we come back, we've got more rapid fire. Lee Corso hanging it up this weekend. We've got game props and some season props as well on Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com continues. We've got Notre Dame, Miami, 7:30 Sunday night, right here on Sports Radio WSBT, the Sports Radio WSBT app. 7:30 kickoff. Game day coverage begins at 3 o'clock. Tim, Jim, Eric, Tyler, their guests this week. Tony Rice, Mike Golick Jr., team physician Brian Radigan, former Irish linebacker Niles Morgan, all on this week's show. They're on at 3 o'clock Eastern time, so be there with them. Guys, checking in. Bobby is worried about you. First of all, Jesse, he wondered if you're a little down in the dumps today.
No, I couldn't be better.
Okay.
You seemed a little sad. You had the head down, just worried about you. Maybe the Parsons trade got to you or something.
I've been running my final score prediction down. I've been kind of going through different numbers and I'm getting.
I forgot to include that on the rundown, but that will be final score prediction coming up in a little bit.
Okay. How many notes do you have on this, Jesse?
That's to be determined as well.
Okay. It's an act in progress. Got it.
Yes.
Raymond checking in to make sure we're still breathing after the Micah Parsons trade. I tell you what, I was never that broken up. I was not as broken up as Jesse was yesterday about it. We can agree. I don't know. I don't think it's ever good to fully buy into anything Jerry Jones is trying to spin you. But as Jesse and I have said for the last few years, Dak Prescott is not Dallas's biggest problem. It has been the defense. And why did they get bludgeoned by the Green Bay Packers in the playoffs 2 years ago? Because of the defensive line. They couldn't stop the run. Why have the San Francisco 49ers pummeled them every time they've played them for the last 4 years? Because they drove it right up the middle, couldn't stop the run. Mozzie Smith, first-round bust. He was supposed to be the guy who solved that. You've got to play the Eagles twice a year. Why did the Ravens and the horrible New Orleans Saints both gash the Dallas Cowboys last year, running right at them up the middle? Couldn't stop the run. So we'll see. We'll see if it works out. So
the biggest problem isn't their owner GM, it's the defense.
Well, I mean,
that's a whole different conversation.
We're talking about actual on-field results, like the defense.
You got to get past that at some point. That's always going to be the same.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, though, Jerry, anything you want to say about him, he pays people and he doesn't lie. Jerry will straight shoot you. So I listened to his whole press conference yesterday. I respect Jerry for being a guy that'll go up there and do an hour press conference after, what happened yesterday. And his closing remarks, they literally asked him, if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, why should you not be upset about this? And I thought he gave a great answer, and it's still work to be done. And you never know what's going to come of draft picks, but I liked his answer. And to pay Micah Parsons how much money he really wanted at the end of the day, that's a lot of money to tie up into one person. You can get,
especially when you've already paid the quarterback and a wide receiver.
You can maybe get 3 to 5 starters out of that money. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Plus the draft picks.
Look, as much as I like Micah Parsons, and I don't want to go too far on this, as much as I like him, what if I vented about him the last couple of years, Jesse? What have I vented about? All he wants to do is rush the passer and get sacks. He is not a good run defender on the edge, and he needs to be part of that as well. That has been
and when you're trailing in games because you're getting bludgeoned, what does a pass rusher do? you know?
Exactly. By the way, Salty Virginia Peanuts in the YouTube chat wonders if Bobby Hensley's shoulders could possibly be any slimmer.
I mean, maybe. I think it's just bad posture. Maybe I'm not.
And maybe in comparison to Jesse and I, who both have the wide shoulder structure. Bobby wants to know when I'm leaving for Miami tomorrow around 12:15ish. I think my flight heads out. So
hopefully it's a one-way ticket.
You couldn't be as lucky. Fill in the blank. Lee Corso's college football game day swan song comes tomorrow before the Texas-Ohio State game. Corso's legacy is blank.
Yeah, Corso's legacy to me is always going to be the headgear selection and being a guy who combines kind of the perfect amount. And I'm talking when he was in his prime, like, let's not go down the path of, he needed to retire 5 years ago. And he's still a legend. He still knows a lot about the game. There's a ton of experience underneath his resume. I loved the perfect combination of football knowledge, but quirkiness. It was a way to make things a little bit fun, and everything that goes into college football. I think he had the perfect combination of having fun, a little bit of quirkiness, but also providing really good analysis.
Yeah. I mean, you said headgear. That's exactly what I was going to say. So I'll just make it a little more vague and say game day, because I think that game day has become a brand in itself for ESPN, and it wouldn't be there without Corso. I mean, when they did that first road one in traveling the game day show, I guess, because it was just in a studio with one monitor behind him at the beginning, and Corso and his charisma and his passion is what made it grow from come into the Joyce Center for one game and then every week, and it just keeps growing. And it's insane how long he's been on that show and how good. And yeah, it's going to be the game gear the headgear on game day and the picks. Like, it's weird because like my generation of people don't even know he was a coach unless you go look up like what he did before game day. So I'd say game day is going to be his legacy.
Yeah, I mean, it's entertainment, sweetheart. That was his mantra. It's entertainment. It's not just being on TV and X's and O's and breaking it down. It's actually being an entertainer. And I think that it's funny, like you say that like people don't realize that Corso was a coach. What's interesting about like Corso and Dick Vitale, who in those two sports, college football and college basketball, were probably the greatest combinations of both, giving you information, but also doing it in an entertaining way. And I think that that's what elevates any program, when you can not just have good information, but have good information and do it in an entertaining fashion. And obviously, the headgear became his shtick, and, it kind of carried him a little bit farther down the road, I think. But I think it's the entertainment facet of it that I think is going to be his legacy.
Well, and it's crazy as somebody like that and Vitale as well, but how they transcended the game. It's changed so much from when he was a coach, from when he started being on game day. The fact he's able to hang in there and still give picks and still make it fun and still understand the game, that's absolutely insane to me, because he's had a long run there. Longer than Jesse's been alive, probably.
Yeah, Jesse, I don't know what you're doing over there, but people
changing his score prediction. Leave him alone.
Calling you out in the chat right now.
What?
Well, yeah, there might be a show going on in front of you right now.
It's fine.
I gotta write stuff down, or I'm gonna forget these great points that I'm about to make.
All right. What do you got? Fire one away.
Bring them anytime.
Yeah.
Your first one. Your next one will be your first one, I think.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
I'm just glad you're mean to everyone. I thought it was just me.
Oh yeah, and well, never mind.
Game props for words, huh?
Game props. Notre Dame, Miami, the Irish -2.5. What are we liking there?
Easy cover.
Easy cover. Well,
Notre Dame wins by way more.
Okay.
I don't think that's a question.
Over under in this game is 49.5. And I don't know if maybe this is what Jesse has been diagramming over there. Do you like the over, the under on 49.5, Bobby?
I always like the over. I think it's easy once you get points going. You get into a beginning of the year game, I could see it becoming a shootout. So 49, I could see a 35 to 21, 28 games. So I could see them getting up there in points.
I think this ranges from about 46 to 54 points, just based off of some numbers I've been crunching here. But I like the under in this situation. I don't think Notre Dame doesn't really blow out a lot of teams, if we're being honest. They don't really put up, unless they're, playing a really inferior opponent, they don't hang a lot of points in a lot of these kind of meaningful games, I might call them. And I don't think Miami's offense is going to get its wheels spinning a lot either. So, I'm going to take the under in this one. It's going to get close, but I'm going to take the under.
Another facet would be the weather. I haven't seen an updated forecast, but I know it was looking pretty nasty.
Bobby.
Supposed to be better, not supposed to be as dire as all the predictions earlier in the week, but like that can still change at a moment's notice. So we will find out on that. But as of right now, it's not supposed to be that bad. Again, I don't see Miami getting over 17 points. As I said, for a margin of error, I'll give them 20. So even if it's 20, I like the under on this. It's a lot of over-unders that I've seen are right around this number. So I don't know if that just means Vegas isn't sure going, like what everybody's going to be. And it's like first game of the season and stuff like that. I like the under, though. I know there's a lot of very optimistic people in the Irish offense, like Irish Gordian not saying 37-20. I think that for Notre Dame is a little bit on the high side. Unless, again, unless turnovers become a factor in this game, like big, like game-changing type momentum turnovers, I don't see a whole lot of points. So I like under 49.5.
Well, I'm curious how you two feel, because we all said that the Notre Dame will cover and win the game, but 1 to 10, how confident would you feel betting money on that?
Oh. Come on.
You're asking Jesse this question?
Yeah.
Come on now. Which one? The money line, the under, the spread, all three of them?
The money line.
The thing is,
money
I don't
line.
have enough money to make this interesting for my, like where I would actually win anything on the back end.
So it's this has been a question in the group
Probably
chat
have
today.
to buy some points. Yeah.
I feel Notre Dame being a money line at -130 is pretty disrespectful, and I've been contemplating what I want to wager on this. Probably maybe a couple hundred, if we're being honest.
Oh, okay.
That's what I was wondering. So,
so
you're pretty all in on that.
Does the fiance? Does the fiance know this?
No.
That's what I want to know.
No. Oh, she just peeked around the corner.
Oh.
Hi, honey. How are you? Well, but then does that number change when you put the spread in there? Or are you still super confident with that?
I'm still pretty confident in that. I think if they win, they win. It's not going to be this close thing.
All right, some individual props. Carson Beck's over under passing yards, 239.5 yards.
This gets tough. I know we should be quick with these, but this gets tough because you don't know about garbage time at the end. They're going to want to run the ball too. I'm going to say under, though. I think Notre Dame's secondary is ready for this. And again, I'm just not sold on that whole unit coming together game one.
I think under. I think that I don't understand why he was such a big commodity. He's a game manager kind of to me. I don't think he's going to go out and throw for all of these yards and be dynamic and change the game. I think it's going to be way under. And even like at the end of the game, I know garbage time. I think by the end of it, Notre Dame will be up by enough that they'll either be running the ball to get the clock out and go back home, or they're going to put their second stringers in, because I don't think it'll be close.
Yeah, I'm leaning toward the under because Miami does want to run the football. They think they're going to be able to run the football. They think they're going to try to run the football. So we'll see, kind of like Jesse said, like these numbers they can hold him in check all game. But then if Notre Dame is winning at the end, it's similar to like the Indiana playoff game last year. All of a sudden you're passing, playing catch up, and and some big numbers come at the end. I'm going under, though, for Beck. Carr's number is 186.5, and I love the over on this. I think this is way too low.
Yeah, I think this is I think that I would set the number. I think the number is pretty fair. I think it probably should be closer to around 200. I think that's where he's going to end up, actually. So I'd take the over.
I agree on the over. I think, a guy making his first start, they're going to let him throw the ball a little, try to get him some confidence. It's not like they're going to put the gloves on him and try and hold him down. So I think that he'll get, a couple big plays will help you get to that number pretty quick. I don't think 200's a bad number, and it's only 186, you said. So I think, he'll hit the over on that.
So I'm going to give you the over-unders for 4 different potential Notre Dame receivers. Malachi Fields is 39.5. Jaden Greathouse is 32.5. Jeremiah Love is 15.5. And Jordan Faison is 30.5. Which of those guys are you most confident is going to hit the over?
Malachi Fields.
That's what I would go with as well.
I think Malachi Fields is the easy answer. I'd say Love too, though, because that's just one screenplay that he breaks.
Yeah, and I mean, if he's going to kind of waited for it a lot last year, but that's literally, if he's going to be more involved in the passing game this year, which we think he is, that feels like an easy over as well. My level of confidence would be Fields, Love, Greathouse, and then Faison. That Faison number, I would not be confident in that one at all. 30.5 yards.
I'm taking the over for Fields and Greathouse, and I'm taking the under on Love and Faison.
You don't think Love can get one play for 15 yards?
I don't know if they're going to bring that trick out of the bag.
That's fair. I understand what you're saying. I just that number's the lowest one too, so it'd be the easiest for someone to hit because it's probably one catch that he just gets through the line and then he's there.
Exactly. Like one catch and he could easily be 30 yards downfield. But again, it's like we didn't see a whole lot of that last year. But I feel confident based on what we've seen and heard.
Player props are also tough because that's why they make them bettable, I guess. But it's like,
this
one
is a
play
Vegas,
could go
this
way.
Vegas moneymaker.
Yeah,
that's again, like you really want to make money, stay away from player props. Honestly,
I'm glad they're banned in Ohio. That's too much stress for me.
All right, we'll take one more quick timeout and then back to wrap things up. We still got some more game props to go through and a couple season things as well. Notre Dame, Miami. Coming up Sunday night in Miami, open up the season. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. Winding down Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com. I'm Sean Stiers, joined by Bobby Hensley and Jesse Stiers tonight as we get ready for Notre Dame and Miami Sunday night. Just a few more game props that I wanted to get through here, and then we can make a score prediction as well, because I know Jesse has been working very feverishly.
I feel like he's
on that game prediction.
Did you see that Shane Gillis on the injury report? Is that what is throwing you for a loop on the game props?
I know.
That's exactly it.
I don't know. Excuse me if everybody saw that. Notre Dame put out an updated injury report today. Justin Fisher, Mishawaka, local homegrown grad, he is going to be out for this game. But Shane Gillis also out. Tailgating is what
number 0 position athlete.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny. I'm glad they did that.
All right, a few more game props to get to here for Notre Dame. Jeremiah Love's rushing total 79.5 yards, over under.
I think that's an over. We know Marcus Freeman. We know there's a young, inexperienced quarterback. And we know that Jeremiah Love, most importantly, is the best running back in college football.
I'll just say the other way. I'm going to go with the under because I think that if they get established everything early enough, they'll be up. They won't need him to be taking all of the hits, so they might let him trail off towards the end of the game. So I could see him getting above 70, but under 79.
I talked earlier about my confidence in Notre Dame hitting explosive plays in this game, and I think that's obviously where Jeremiah Love comes into play. Now, field conditions, all that stuff doesn't mess with it. If the weather continues to trend in the right direction, it shouldn't be a factor. So I'm going over for Jeremiah Love. He is also, by the way, minus 200 to score a touchdown. That's one to honestly just stay away from, I think, at minus 200 odds. He is the favorite in the game.
Saying it's not worth it because you wouldn't get enough return.
Exactly. Juice not worth the squeeze. Jadarian Price's rushing total, 41.5 yards.
I'd take the over on that for sure. I think that's the thing about Price is, we're going to see a lot of them, but I feel like he more so hits kind of those bigger chunk plays, 10, 15, 20-yard type runs. So for him, that's really potentially, 2 to 4 runs.
Yeah, I would say the over. That number seems kind of low because, like you said, chunk plays, you get a good – I know it's the same thing with every player, but he gets 2 chunk plays, he's already at that number, and that could happen in the first or second quarter.
And he just, no matter how many games they keep playing, yeah, but I agree with what Bobby O'Shea is saying. Price will get that in one run because it seems like what tends to happen is when Love comes off and Price goes in, people kind of fall asleep on Jadarian Price, and then boom, all he needs is one crease, and the next thing you know, he's 35, 40 yards downfield. And I think that, like both of these guys are going to hit at least one explosive play, if not more. And that's typically like that's Jadarian Price's game. And the other thing that Price talked about being his offseason focus was being more consistent and, like reading defenses and seeing like how they're defending him and being able to be more consistent. So instead of 1 or 2 yards per carry, you're up, 4 to 5 yards per carry, and then boom, again, next thing you know, you hit a big one. So I like the over for both of those guys. Mark Fletcher, Miami's running back, has an over-under of 58.5. I do think he's going to go over on this. Either Notre Dame completely bottles him up, or I think he'll be somewhere around like the 65 to 75, 80-yard mark.
Yeah, that seems like an over as well, because especially as the first game of the year, you just want to get consistency and start to get your team together. So I feel like there'll be a lot of running, especially early in the game. And then the seesaw starts to come about who's ahead and who's behind. But that number seems low. That seems pretty low for a starting running back when they want to have the run established.
He's a bigger back, though. So, I still –
bruiser.
I'm not sure what he's going to be able to do against Notre Dame's linebacking core, especially in Notre Dame's safeties. Where are you, Jesse? Over, under for Fletcher?
I'm going to take the under.
Huh?
I'm going to take the under.
Under? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, game prediction, game score. Jesse's been working on it. What do you got?
This comes with a lot of responsibility. I've really kicked back and forth what I'm thinking here. I've narrowed it down. I'm feeling good about it. I think we're going to see a 27-13 Notre Dame victory. 27-13.
Okay.
I think also alternate score 31-17. And that's what I've been really bouncing back with a lot here. I think Miami definitely gets a touchdown. I think they definitely get maybe a field goal or two, but I'm having a hard time. Can they get a second touchdown? And maybe that's, a little bit too much of me and whatever, but I don't know if they get that second touchdown. And I think Notre Dame gets 3 touchdowns. I'm on the teeter of, do they get 4? And then do they make up the rest with some kind of like field goal? So 27-13. Put it down on the books.
Bobby?
But how many do you say Notre Dame needed to score to win the game?
21. 21. Yep.
So right about there. I agree with you kind of. I think 31 for Notre Dame. I think they get 4 touchdowns and a field goal. And I think Miami, I can see them getting 13. I don't think they can get above that. I think that's right about where it's going to live.
I am 27-17 Notre Dame, and a lot of people chiming in the YouTube chat are kind of in the same ballpark. Joe is 24-17. Robin and John are both 20-17, so they're a little bit lower on Notre Dame. I'm a little bit higher. Ace 454 ND 35-14. I just, I've said it all week long, and I'll just repeat it again today. I just think the only path that Miami has to winning this game is, making CJ Carr make a couple of big mistakes, like turnover wise, that kind of stuff. I think that is their path to victory. They've got to make the young, inexperienced quarterback make some big time mistakes and, get some points that way. I just don't see them being able to be consistent at all against Notre Dame's defense over the course of the game. So that's why I have Notre Dame 27-17. We've got about a minute and a half here if anybody has any follow-ups that they want to hit before we
I don't think Notre Dame gets over 30 because I think Marcus Freeman is still the man at the helm. I think even if you get up, Marcus Freeman is going to want to downshift this game, run the ball a lot in the third and fourth quarter. He's not going to let CJ Carr make a mistake in the third or fourth quarter that could carry over into Texas A&M.
If he has a lead,
I don't think this is a high-scoring affair for that reason. You get a comfortable lead. Marcus Freeman has no problem putting that bad boy into neutral and downshifting and just.
And why wouldn't you?
Off.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you with that offensive line and
confidence.
Levin Price? Exactly.
Yeah. Let his confidence skyrocket going into Texas A&M. There's no reason to let CJ Carr make a mental mistake.
Anything, Bobby?
No, I was just saying that's also why I put the under on Jeremiah Love, saving him for the rest of the year.
All right. Good stuff. We will hit it out on that 7:30 Sunday night. And again, don't forget, here on Sports Radio WSBT, game day coverage starts at 3 o'clock. Jesse Stiers, Bobby Hensley. Enjoyed it as always, gentlemen. Have a great weekend. Enjoy your Labor Day, and I will talk to you next week. Budweiser's Weekday Sportsbeat with IrishBreakdown.com.